In this video we're going to look at air resistance and how you can plan an investigation to see which factors affect how quickly an object falls. This is a level 2 forces topic. Many people think that heavier objects fall faster than lighter ones. This is an idea that needs to be put right before you start the investigation. Okay, so we take these two balls, basically the same size, but one of them much heavier than the other. So here we have the two balls. I'm going to let them go at the same time and we're going to see which one hits the ground first. Okay, let's have a look at that one more time. However, the shape does change it a lot. So let's have a look at this paper and a ball. But if we screw up the paper so the shapes are more or less the same again, this shows that the mass of an object doesn't make any difference to the time it takes to fall, but the shape certainly does, and this is because of air resistance. This can lead into an investigation looking at how shape affects the time to fall. When planning an investigation, pupils should decide what they are going to test, in this case the time it takes for the cone to fall. They then need to look at the variables, or things that could change in the experiment. These need to be broken into three types. Firstly, the variable they are going to measure. In this experiment, that's the time to fall. Secondly, which one can they control and change? And that's the size of the cone. And finally, and really importantly, which ones will be kept the same every time? This is needed to make a fair test. Most important ones here are the height it is dropped from and the mass of the cone. In an investigation, you need to start with a prediction or hypothesis. For instance, as the cone gets smaller, it will fall faster. Or, as the cone gets larger, it will fall more slowly. This needs to be backed up with some science. As it gets smaller, there will be less air resistance, so it will fall faster. They can then plan the experiment. The results should be recorded in a table. A range of diameters should be used, and for each one it should be repeated 3 times. This improves the reliability of the experiment. Doing it 3 times is important. If you only do it twice and you get different results, you don't know which is wrong. But with 3, you're more likely to see which one can be repeated or rejected. Finally, there is a conclusion backed up with some science. For this investigation, you will need a large circle of paper. This is an A3 sheet. Cut the circle out and also make a cut from the edge to the centre. This will allow you to make the cone. You will also need a ruler and a stopwatch for each group. Groups of 3 are good for this investigation. 1 person to drop the cone, 1 to time how long it takes to fall, and 1 to record the results. If possible, the person dropping the cone should stand on a bench or something similar to increase the dropping distance. Okay, so you take the circle, you've cut from the edge into the centre, and to make the cone you just run one side over another and put a paper clip on there to hold it in place. I suggest you start with at least 3 paper clips because you need to keep the weight the same all the way through, so you don't want to be adding more paper clips later on when the overlap changes. You then measure the diameter, so that's 23 centimetres, and put a small bit of blue tack or something in the bottom just so that it drops nice and steadily. And then you can change the size of it, take the paper clips off, make the cone a bit smaller, and then put the clips back on again. Then remeasure the diameter, 16 centimetres. Make sure your blue tack's back into the parachute. Drop it again from the same height. For each diameter, the group should repeat the experiment 3 times. They should then do the same for a total of 5 different diameters. Then they can calculate the mean for each diameter and possibly plot their results as a graph. This will allow them to draw a conclusion from the investigation and see if they can use science to explain their results. As well as a copy of this video on our website, we have also put up some copies of the worksheets at different levels if you want to use those for your investigation.